Thank you, everyone, and good morning. Thank you so much, Eunice, for the warm welcome, and thank you to Kobe and our opening high-level panel for getting us started this morning. Very excited to be moderating this distinguished panel. They've all been introduced, so I think we'll dive into sort of setting the context for this discussion and then hearing from our panelists. So I think it's no secret that we are living through times of geopolitical upheaval, tension, and uncertainty, and that environment, that climate, pardon the pun, is affecting our world here in terms of the action we hope to take to address the climate crisis, is particularly from the city and regional level, from the subnational level in particular. But there are signs, and there have been signs, as we all know, over the last several years of a growing recognition of the need for climate action to continue, to persist, despite political tensions, despite geopolitical shifts, and moreover, the need for that climate action to be really rooted in what we call multi-level partnerships. Partnerships between multiple levels of government, the national, the state, or regional, and the city and local level. Which is why it's so exciting to have the range of subnational views and perspectives here on this panel today. As you all know, I work for the CHAMP support unit, and CHAMP was a coalition that was launched at COP28 in Dubai in 2023 in recognition of this very fundamental principle. CHAMP stands for the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships. 75 countries around the world have now signed on to this coalition, committing to working with subnational governments in planning, financing, implementing, and monitoring climate plans and strategies, including, critically, the current third generation of nationally determined contributions, some of which we've already seen and some of which we are anticipating eagerly on the road to Belém this year. And that's going to be a big part of the conversation today, so let's get started. I'm going to start with our representatives from Japan and Brazil, respectively, considering these are two countries from whom we have seen new NDC 3.0s already being submitted. And starting with Japan, the mayor of Kitakyushu, following COP26 in Glasgow, we've seen a inconsistent but clear ramping up of ambition and inclusion in the UNFCCC process. We saw the CHAMP coalition being launched at COP28. And this latest round of climate plans has taken place in this context. So we've seen that there's been a whole of society and whole of government mobilization and effort towards building these plans out. What would be your wish, on the road to Belém, and how have you felt the impact of this shift in Japan in the context of the country's NDC 3.0?
Thank you. From a perspective of mayor of Kitakyushu City, so it's a great pleasure to be here. And so I really appreciate this wonderful opportunity to join this session. I have a feeling that some of you may already know my face, possibly in connection with chocolate and Japanese sake. Today, I'm honored to introduce Kitakyushu City briefly. And we would like to propose a model based on 4 C's, a multi-layered collaborative city for climate change, or MLC4 for short, emphasizing the depth and connection in every direction. Please start the slide. Again, so MLC4 is Kitakyushu City. The essence of my talk today is simple: to sharpen our vision and bring more definition to the idea of a multi-layered collaborative city. I would propose a city that advances collaboration across 3 dimensions. Please, next, please. First, collaboration with all citizens. The people of Kitakyushu take pride in our environmental identity. From energy saving at home to local cleanup efforts, we engage everyone in building a carbon neutral and resilient future. Second, collaboration across all sectors. We work not only on environmental issues, but also link them with the economy, health, infrastructure, and welfare, partnering with businesses, government agencies, and NGOs. Third, collaboration with cities around the world. The world is a network of cities. Kitakyushu positions itself as a transboundary city, forming alliances across borders to accelerate global climate solutions. Next, please. As mayor of Kitakyushu, since 2023, I focused on bold urban change and global impact. Next, please. Kitakyushu is located at the northern tip of Kyushu Island with a population of about 1 million, surrounded by beautiful mountains and sea and known as Sushi Kingdom. The city also has a proud industrial history. Next, please. Castle, sea, mountain, and sushi. Next, please. We are home to Japan's first full-scale steelworks, and today we produce robots, automobiles, and cutting-edge technologies. Kitakyushu is also globally recognized as the home of world-renowned companies such as Nippon Steel, Yaskawa, and Toyota, Nissan. Next. It's precisely because of this industrial base that Kitakyushu has long been committed to sustainability. We were recognized at the 1992 Earth Summit and have received numerous international awards ever since. In fact, our entire history is a story of MLC4, multi-level cross-sector collaboration. Let me share just a few examples. Next. In the 1960s, Kitakyushu was one of the most polluted cities in the world. But ordinary wives raised their voices. In response, government and businesses took action. Together, we reclaimed our blue skies and clean seas, a story of citizen-led environmental transformation. Next. Collaboration. Next, collaboration with industry. We launched Japan's first eco-town, treating recycling as a new industrial opportunity. Today, we are a national leader in the circular economy. And in the port area, one of Japan's largest offshore wind projects is underway, thanks to strong partnerships with energy companies. Next, please. Third, regional collaboration. Together with 17 neighboring municipalities, we promote solar energy and energy-saving technologies. This effort has been designated by the national government as a leading decarbonization area. Next, please. And finally, a global collaboration. Kitakyushu has trained over 11,000 people from 169 countries, sharing our expertise in water, waste, and environmental policy. Just this month, we signed an agreement with the state of Telangana, India, to support the creation of an Indian version of our eco-town. In this way, Kitakyushu is more than a local government. It is a platform for regional and global transformation. Next, please. Next is this signing event with Telangana. Next, please. We aim not only to become carbon neutral by 2050, but to help reduce emissions across Asia by 150% of our own through shared technology, knowledge, and partnerships. Next, please. Look, a mandala is a sacred diagram from Buddhist tradition. often in the form of a circle filled with geometric patterns and symbolic figures. At the center, you usually find a Buddha, symbolizing wisdom, peace, and enlightenment. Surrounding it are layers of other deities and forces representing the universe in harmony. The mandala reminds us that everything is connected, not just spiritually, but in real life. This idea is deeply relevant to the environmental crisis we face today. Just like in mandala, nature, humans, animals, oceans, and air are all part of one interdependent system. When one part is harmed, the whole becomes unbalanced. So, the mandala teaches us that protecting the planet is not just a task, it's a spiritual responsibility. We must act with awareness and compassion, knowing that each decision we make ripples through the whole world. Next, please. That's why I believe it's time to move beyond the linear multi-level systems. Instead, we must shift toward a mandala-like model as a conceptual thought experiment, a circular, interconnected way of thinking and acting. In this model, citizens, communities, businesses, NGOs, and even other cities are not ranked, but organically connected. Polycentric model with mutual respect, flexibility, and shared purpose. Together, they form a holistic urban universe alive with diversity and collaboration. This is the kind of spirit and relationship we want to build, and we are starting from Kitakyushu. This is what we call a new kind of model, MLC4, mandala style. Next. The world today faces great uncertainty. Now more than ever, the power of a city is needed. If cities around the world became MLC4, multi-layered collaborative cities for climate change, the world can become truly sustainable. Let us work together. Here in Bonn, the birthplace of Beethoven, I truly believe we can compose a symphony of action with many ambitious cities around the world. And Kitakyushu is there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and a great reminder that when the crises we face are not linear, then the solutions we put forward to address them should not be linear as well. Thank you very much, Mayor Takeuchi. I'm now going to turn the floor over to Mr. Gutemberg de Vilhena Silva. In the context of the Brazilian NDC, which we saw released last year, Mr. Silva, there was a lot of emphasis on what's called climate federalism, and this renewed push from the Brazilian government to not just involve other levels of government, but actively work with them, ensure that their priorities and their contributions are reflected in national government plans. How has that impacted your work in Amapá? And what would your wish be for the implementation of the NDC moving forward, and of course, towards COP30 in Belém this year?
Bom dia, todas e todos. Bom dia ao dispositivo. Para mim é uma honra estar aqui representando o governo do Amapá. Para quem ainda não conhece, o estado do Amapá é o estado mais próximo do Pará, cuja capital está mais próxima de Belém do Pará, onde ocorrerá a COP do Brasil. E para nós é uma grande honra poder participar deste evento preparatório, porque o nosso governo acredita fortemente, e os dados mostram isso, que nós temos, reunimos as características mais importantes daquilo que se espera como resultado da COP30. Explico. Nós temos no Brasil e, quiçá, no mundo, os melhores indicadores ambientais com todos os territórios indígenas, quilombolas, ou seja, das populações tradicionais, protegidos. Todos estão devidamente demarcados. Ontem eu escutei, em uma reunião com o nosso coordenador nacional da COP30, o embaixador André Corrêa do Lago, que uma das pautas centrais para a COP30 é a demarcação efetiva das nossas terras indígenas. Nós já temos todas demarcadas. Uma outra pauta que é igualmente importante é a proteção das florestas. 93%, repito, 93% de toda a nossa floresta está preservada. Todo o nosso estado, 93% é coberto por florestas, das quais 70% é floresta primária. Este movimento multinível abriu oportunidade para que governos subnacionais pudessem ter mais voz, mais participação efetiva, se tornassem atores estratégicos em um movimento global. E o Amapá fez o seu dever de casa, historicamente, na medida em que todo o seu território tem a valorização da floresta, a valorização do conhecimento tradicional. Ontem, em uma apresentação, mencionei que nós temos uma faculdade dedicada aos povos indígenas. O governo do Amapá tem uma Secretaria de Estado dedicada aos povos indígenas, uma Secretaria de Estado dedicada aos povos afrodescendentes. Isto mostra que, neste movimento em que o farol está direcionado para o Brasil, a partir daquilo que vai acontecer na COP30, nós estamos apresentando um estado em que, de um lado, nós temos estes dados, este comportamento que eu acabo de expressar, mas, por outro, nós temos uma população carente, uma população que vive ainda na pobreza. Nós temos os piores indicadores do CAGED, que é o índice que mede o comportamento de emprego e desemprego no Brasil. Portanto, este movimento da NDC 3.0 nos abre uma possibilidade de que nós, como temos os melhores indicadores ambientais do Brasil, tenhamos oportunidade também de gerar emprego e renda para a nossa população a partir da atração de investimentos. Mas não queremos qualquer investimento. Investimentos que respeitem a floresta, investimentos que respeitem as populações tradicionais, investimentos que podem ter qualquer denominação, investimentos verdes, investimentos sustentáveis. O nome pouco importa, o que importa é o resultado. E o resultado que nós queremos, que estamos apresentando, é justamente apresentar à sociedade mundial um Estado que pode ser tratado como um exemplo de sustentabilidade dentro de um contexto em que a COP30 é um momento processual do qual, em seguida, nós queremos continuar com essa pauta tão importante, tão cara para o Amapá, que é a pauta ambiental. Muito obrigado.
Thank you so much. And of course, the Brazilian NDC is a strong example that in this current generation of NDCs, it's not just about mitigation and cutting emissions. We're seeing an increasing and important focus on adaptation and on a just transition. And so very happy to see the objectives of that just transition being taken forward in states like Amapá. Turning now to our next two panelists. First, Lord Mayor Lomax-Smith from the city of Adelaide. Is it? Yep. Australia is, of course, yet to submit its NDC 3.0, and we're eagerly awaiting its submission. But considering what we've discussed today, what you've heard so far, not just today, but over the last couple of days, how are these positive trends in inclusion and multi-level action impacting the Australian NDC process as you've experienced it, and impacting, I suppose, climate action in Australia more broadly from your perspective? And what do you hope to see this year, but also in the coming years?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to speak. It's a great honour to be here, and I thank the organisers, the Secretariat and everyone for putting so much effort into making a very slick production. Thank you. I come from a city called Adelaide, and it's a capital city in one of the 8 subnational regional areas of Australia. And just to put it in context, we have 3 levels of government, and we haven't always agreed on climate action. And in fact, my experience is of non-collaboration and the fact that the subnational tier of government made decisions which have put us in a position currently which makes us a leader in Australia and the world in terms of the transition. And that, I think, is possible because you don't need everyone to agree. If you have power at a subnational level, you can make change. And the changes that occurred are very significant for us because, just again to put it in context, Australia is twice the size of Europe. My state, my subnational area, is twice the size of Spain and of equivalent size to Germany and France combined. This is a very big area. We have 3 individuals per square metre. You know, it's a very big country. The population in the state is under 2 million. And we go it alone because we're a long way from the heart of the federal government. We can do a lot of things. So in 2007, our subnational government made a decision, I was part of that government, that we would legislate for climate change and action and net zero by 2050 with intermediate milestones. But more importantly, we wanted to have an energy transition. And one of the keys to the energy transition and the way you make things work in Australia is to actually find a way to make people want to help you. There was a very famous Prime Minister in Australia who said, with a bit of humour, if you're a gambling man, always put your money on the horse named self-interest. And the reality is that you can get things done if people see an opportunity for them. And my view is that the reason we've been so good in South Australia, and there was an unfriendly federal government at the time, was because we implemented legislation but made it possible for people to invest, the private sector and individuals, in short-term gains. So we freed up planning systems so that wind power was more easily installed. And that's why we have 40% of our energy produced by wind now. We worked hard to have incentives for solar power, and over 50% of our homes have rooftop solar. Of course, we have a lot of sun. You'd be crazy not to have it, frankly. But in terms of self-interest, what we did was generate a feed-in tariff by law, which forced our electricity companies to buy electricity from solar systems in homes at a much more advantageous rate than the residents could buy it. And the self-interest worked that we were obviously funding the electricity companies, but also the homeowners saw that they could make money because electricity is expensive. So self-interest is the way we move. And as a council, and my council is very conservative, not politically, but it's been there a long time. It's the oldest council in Australia, which in the scheme of things in Europe isn't very old. It's only 1840. But, and of course, we occupy land that has been owned and occupied and is still owned and occupied and will be into the future by Aboriginal people. So it's only a speck in time. But this is a council that has found ways also to incentivise activity. And so my message to everyone is don't be despondent if you can't get a multi-level partnership. You have enormous power. So as a council, we see that the imperative in our city at the moment is housing. And housing, you might say, well, what's that got to do with it? Well, if you're going to create housing, we make sure that every unit we produce has sensible facilities to conserve heat. Although we mainly have to keep the heat out. We don't have to conserve it. And we're spending money on ways to keep our economy going. Now, what does that mean? I think that from my point of view, we get a social license by telling our shopkeepers and our restaurants that if we don't do something about the urban heat sink in our city, you will go out of business. And I frequently tell them their business has no future unless we can do something to cool our city. And so the next thing we have done is to democratize the data that we use to cool our city. What do I mean? We have a kind of massive computer program that you can log on, and it's like a game almost. It has 500 data sets. But the ones that people like to log on to are the temperature maps. And you can see that in the leafy, posh areas of my city, it gets cool at night. In the poorer areas, it never cools. And so those are the places where people are at high risk of early death. I live in the cottages in the poorer area, and I can actually look at the map at my house and see that my house does get cooler because I've planted in the garden. But most of the streets can be 8 to 10 degrees hotter. And in the daytime, I go out with my laser temperature gauge, driving everyone mad by pointing at the streets. And I can say outside my office, outside the town hall in the summer, it's often 55 degrees. It's absolutely incompatible with life. And with the social licenses that I'm spending millions and millions of dollars planting trees on the street, $5 million this year, just to plant trees on the street, because I know that on average it will be 8 degrees cooler. And the social license for councils, local government, spending money on cooling the streets, finding incentives, and we have a range of incentives that I won't talk to you about, but ways to actually retrofit buildings, to double glaze, to decarbonize, to make sure that we change from gas to electric heating, cooling, and also to cooking. Those incentives actually increase the value of the property. And every time we give away $1, we find that we have a property owner spending $8 to $9 as well. So it actually incentivizes investment. And I think that we should not be obsessed with multi-level partnerships. If you get 2 out of 3, or even do it alone, you can really make a difference. And remember, the sooner you start, the better.
Thank you so much, Lord Mayor. I'm going to be turning to Ms. Dorah Marema from the South African Local Government Association. Same question. Given that South Africa has long been a leader in advancing just transitions within the UNFCCC process and at home in ensuring a consultative climate process which involves other levels of government, how are you seeing this current NDC 3.0 process? What has your engagement been, or what do you hope your engagement to be, and what should we expect from the NDC?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and again, thank you to the organizers of this. It's my first time being at Durban Cities. I think the atmosphere is very encouraging and life-giving, so I'm very pleased to be here. Yes, definitely. In South Africa, we are seeing a shift. I think it's risky to say that because we are yet to see the byproduct. But I think judging by the processes that are currently underway and the appetite of the national government to engage all the other levels of government, it is very encouraging. I think there is a shift in terms of really realizing that local government is where the things are happening, is where the rubber hits the road, is where policy coincides with the triple challenge of poverty, inequality, and unemployment in South Africa. And we stand a good chance. I think the NDC is both a challenge and an opportunity for us as a country. A challenge that would really challenge all of us to realize the practical part of the many brilliant policies and strategies that we have. We've got an Intergovernmental Relations Act that stipulates how the three levels of government need to relate to each other. And then as a result, we've got structures that have been set up to be able to make sure that intergovernmental relations is really happening. And I think recently we have seen, an intention in terms of getting subnationals to be active. We've seen the national government playing its role of providing an enabling environment, setting the tone for the various, interventions to happen, entering into bilateral agreements with other nations, facilitating at that level. And then the middle provincial level of government, we've seen really coming out to be able to support local government in terms of really implementing the change. And through that process, as I said, the Presidential Climate Commission, I think yesterday I mentioned, was started when it was launched by the President in 2022. It did not include local government. And there were some serious engagements to say it is a complete oversight, a complete hindsight that this commission, which is so important, and setting the tone for how South Africa is going to transition into a low carbon development, does not include local governments. And in 2022, my organization was then requested to nominate 2 mayors to be part of the commission. And since 2022, we have got 2 mayors that are representing the voice of local government, nominated by SALGA, my organization, and that means they have to report back and engage with the whole of local government so that our views are heard. And we have seen in this year, because the commission makes recommendations to the president in terms of what the NDC should contain, or what the just transition should look like. They set up the frameworks and they make the recommendations to the president and to the cabinet. And they have taken the lead in terms of engaging all sectors of society, all the levels of government, to be able to say, what would you like to see in the NDC? What are the challenges? And it was not a once-off, it was a staggered process, which we felt for the very first time our voices were beginning to be heard. And as I talk to you right now, last week there was a special commission meeting sitting, and we received the documents up front, so it's not like before where we are consulted, and there's a difference, we are engaged. Engagement means that you're given an opportunity, you are given the information to be able to make a meaningful contribution. So you are not just signing off. So this week, the coming week, is a deadline for the public consultation on the recommendations of the commission to the president. We have got a parallel process with a national department that is responsible for compiling and writing up the NDC itself. We together with our partners, Italy, in South Africa, took a long shot of approaching them and saying we are embarking on the process of hosting town hall COPs throughout the country with our mayors who are really could not wait, because there are people expect them to act to be able to mitigate the impacts of climate change. We would like to invite you to come on board. We know that you are busy with the process of compiling the NDC, and we believe this town hall COPs will become a brilliant opportunity and platform for you to test out whether some of the content that you are putting in the NDC is really what people on the ground are actually talking about. And to our pleasant surprise, they really agreed, and they put it down on paper to make a commitment that they will take the NDC consultation with us on the town hall COP process. I know it is a short space of time, but this has never happened, and we are super excited, because that is the tone, I think, of the national government that we're seeing. Last year, in 2024, 25, 26 of August, we again took a long shot to request national government for the South African Local Government Association to become a secretariat of the Just Energy Transition Municipal Council. So we lobbied a year before that for the COP in Egypt for local government to have a ring-fenced portion of the Just Energy Transition Investment Plan in our country. And we did that successfully. Following that, we then took another long shot and said, we as the South African local government, representing 257 municipalities in the country, we believe we stand we are in a better position to run that ring-fenced portion of the just energy transition. We had our inaugural council meeting sitting last week, chaired by the CEO of the South African Local Government Association, and it is work that we've never done. It's uncharted territory, but I have hope and believe that what will end up in the NDC is going to reflect at least the intention that our government has put forward. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to seeing what that NDC looks like and hoping that it truly reflects the contributions and priorities of your organization and its members. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for your attention, our distinguished panel for their contributions, and I'll hand back over to Eunice for the next part of the agenda. Thank you so much.